Looking at this description of liberalism by John Gray, it's actually a quotation from his book, one of his books. And we have spent some time on this passage. So we basically are using this to think through the issues involved in understanding liberalism. So we have looked at two characteristics of individualism, and we have also looked at egalitarianism. So we are going to look at universalism today and what meliorism or progressivism. So we'll try to cover these two today. Let's see how we go. But just in order to keep the continuity, let's read from the start. So, common to all variants of liberal tradition is a definite conception, distinctively modern in character. Common to all variants of the liberal tradition is a definite conception, distinctively modern in character of man and society. So there's sort of break in their conception of man and society, break with the history in a sense. So they present liberalism involve a new conception of man and a new conception of society. And they are distinctively modern in the sense that there's a clear break with the tradition, with the history. Another way of saying it is that what liberalism does is not just a new conception of man and society, but new concepts of man and society. Anyway, and it is individualist in that it asserts the moral primacy of the person against the claims of any social collectivity. And we looked at in detail in what sense this claim is true and in what sense this claim is not true. So it is individualist in the sense that it asserts the moral primacy or primacy of the person against the claims of any social collectivity. Egalitarian in as much as it confers on all men the same moral status and denies the relevance of legal or political order or religion of differences in moral worth of human being. So moral worth of human being depends on freedom. They believe in freedom. And in that sense, their actions, this moral worth is prior to their action. So their action don't determine their moral worth as such. So we covered this in detail, so we aren't going to go over it again. Now we are going to look at liberalism's universalism. So it is universalist in what sense? Affirming the moral unity of human species. So in that sense, it's not a nationalist or nationalist or regionalist or ethnicist. Liberalism is none of that. So in that sense, liberalism is clearly demarcated from the Judaic tradition, which is more like ethnicist. And I'm talking about historical Judaism, especially European Judaism, which believe in some sort of moral and maybe even genetic superiority of a particular people. So liberalism in that sense is not related to Judaism. It's more related to um, Christianity in that sense. And that's why it was easy for there to emerge a Christian liberalism historically, especially on Protestant grounds, because like Christianity and Islam, liberalism also believe in universalism. Of course, universalism of liberalism is grounded differently, but they are all three universalist tradition. And we are not talking about practical universality. At practical level, all three, fall short at times, but theoretically they are fully universalist. So, for example, we can say that in that they are different from nationalism or ethnocentric conceptions and ethnocentric religions, for example, Judaism. So liberalism, the third element of liberalism is that it is universalist, affirming the moral unity of the human species and according a secondary importance to specific historic association. So everything else is secondary in that sense. Culture and its form are secondary. The main thing is humanity or human species. So in that sense, liberalism is a form of humanism, belief in some sort of a divinity of humanity, unity of human race, sanctity of human race. Obviously, religious liberalism grounds that sanctity in the conception of God. And for example, some Christian liberals, for example, have historically claimed that, they ground that on the conception that man is um, created after the image of God, for example. And some Muslim liberals have argued similar sort of things. So it is a form of humanism in that sense, affirming the moral unity of the human species and according a secondary importance to specific historic association. So, for example, nation is secondary in liberalism. So, in theory, at least, liberalism is not nationalist. It is universalist. It's not just globalist, it is universalist. Like, every human being, as part of human species, they have moral worth, and that moral worth is, most liberals argue that moral worth resides in their freedom and belief in freedom. Okay, so let's look at the universalism of liberalism.